Hi everyone! Today I'm sharing a quick and simple spread in my Life Crafted album featuring some of the Flea Market Findings exclusives from Citrus Twist Kit from October 2021's collection. I decided to work on some craft cardstock this time instead of my usual white cardstock base. So I have here some Nina White Desert Storm craft cardstock. This is the 65 pound, and I'm going to do a bit of mixed media on this. So I have my pearlescent fine tech watercolors, and these are metallic pigmented watercolors, and I'm just picking one of the bright gold ones, and I'm using my water brush to add some water to kind of activate it. Then I'm using the water brush to flick some of the gold paint onto my surface here. And the way I'm doing that is I'm just holding the bristles in between my two fingers, and then I'm brushing my fingers rapidly through them so that it creates a bit of a fine mist of gold all over my paper. And it's kind of hard to see in this lighting, but in real life, when you hold it up to the light, it really does show up, and it just gives a kind of a subtle sheen to the surface of the paper wherever I have those splatters. Just making sure all those splatters are dry with a heat gun. The splatters weren't very big, so it didn't take too long to dry at all, but I just wanted to make sure everything was dry before moving on to the next step. And I was really inspired by Citrus Twist's new Flea Market Findings collection that they had released in the beginning of October, and specifically these chipboard frames that came in the collection. So you can either buy the collection all together, and it comes with a package of goodies like these alphabet stickers and these phrase stickers, as well as the pattern paper and the chipboard frames, or you can buy most of these elements separately, I believe, and these chipboard frames definitely you could buy separately. And so my idea is to use as many of these frames as possible on my one Life Crafted album spread to kind of create like a gallery look with lots of different photos. So I've gone ahead and measured the dimensions on the inside of all of these frames just so that I could print out my photos at the correct size. The long ones are approximately 1.75, that's 1 3/4 inches by 2.5 inches. The large squares are 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches, and then the medium squares are 1 3/4 inches and by 1 3/4 inches, and then the smallest squares are 1 inch by 1 inch. The only ones that are kind of slightly different are the ones in the bottom right corner, the ones that say all things are possible and inside Technicolor, and I won't be using those ones for today. But I've just gone ahead and printed out all of my photos at the correct sizes that I want them to be in these frames. I did leave a bit of a white border when I cut them out as well, about 1/8 of an inch all the way around, just so that I do have somewhere that I can adhere the chipboard frames to, because the chipboard frames are adhesive backed, so I figured it would be easy enough to just place them directly onto my photos and then place the photos onto my spread. So here I have all of my pictures adhered inside my frames, and I'm just sticking them temporarily onto the packaging of that the chipboard frames came in. And I will have to warn you not to do this because the packaging isn't like a sticker paper, so it doesn't peel off very well. And some of the residue from the glue on the back of the frames got left behind on the packaging, so I definitely would recommend to stick them onto some actual sticker paper backing instead of sticking them on the packaging, because it just did not work for me. So usually when I do gallery collages like this, I like to have more of my larger elements in the middle and smaller elements towards the outside. However, because this is a Life Crafted album and there are binder rings in the middle, and I didn't necessarily want to try to punch through the chipboard frames, I decided the easiest way to kind of fill up that gap where the binder rings were in the middle would be to use some pattern papers to spread across the two pages. And that way it provides a bit of a background for the chipboard frames to sit on as well. So I'm just going through all of the pattern papers that came in the Flea Market Findings collection, and I liked the way that the hexagon peachy colored pattern paper looked on the craft cardstock, as well as in combination with that frame that says captured, that has diagonally separated the white portion and the peach portion. To go with that, I decided to go with this more neutral colored pattern paper with the leaves on it, and I thought that worked really well with this peach corally colored pattern paper. So I just cut them down a bit. These are approximately 6 inches wide, and I think one of them I cut at 3 inches tall and the other one slightly shorter than that. And I'm just going to layer the two on my craft paper to give it a bit of interest, and then cut it down the center again. And then I will have to punch the holes just so that I can be cognizant of where the holes are when I'm placing all of my chipboard frames down. Now that I have my base layers in place, I'm going to start playing around with where I want my picture frames to be. So my initial thought was that I wanted something else to bridge that gap between the two pages, just because that middle section is looking a bit empty. So I pulled out some ephemera bits from the Flea Market Findings collection and didn't like how small those were. So then I pulled out a few journaling cards from that collection just to see how those would look. And I did cut one down to kind of try to see if I could use that one in between those two pages, but it just ended up being like a bit too much in that center portion, and I didn't want my journaling to be in the middle section where I might have hole punches through it and the split between the two pages through it, so I just ended up going without anything going between those two pages in the end. And I think the pattern paper serves as an adequate bridge between my two pages in the end. The second problem that I came across when I was making the spread was that black frame that says the sweetest memory, even though the inside is 1 inch by 1 inch, it actually is a bit taller than the other 1 inch by 1 inch frames. And I had thought about it, but I thought I could make it fit, but it just seemed really crowded, especially because the black one was so black. And what I should have done is I should have just left this one out from the spread, but I really wanted to include that photo of my parents, so I decided to just go with it and try to make it fit the best I can. And in the end, I did get it to fit. It just looks a bit heavy on the page compared to all the other pastels that I have going on and all the other warm tones there. So you'll see me kind of fiddle around with the right side of the page a bit more than the left side of the page, just because I felt the left side of the page was really working well together. And I ended up adding one of those ephemera pieces from the ephemera pack, the one that says happy on the bottom with a heart. And I just pulled out some fun burlap twine from my stash and stapled that together to put onto my spread. I did pop up that ephemera bit with some foam squares just because the extra dimension of the chipboard frames being all around it, I didn't want it to get lost within all of the other elements on this page. The rest of the elements I'm just adhering down with my Tombow Mono permanent adhesive tape runner, with the exception of the journaling spot, which I will also put up on foam dots at the end. So I'm just fiddling around with the right side of the page a bit more, and you can see that that black frame just doesn't want to like physically fit on that section of the page. It just ends up being a bit too crowded, especially with it being black and everything else being a bit of a lighter color. What I might do later on is potentially add some gesso carefully around to cover up the black of that frame, and then stick one of those word phrase stickers on the bottom part where it says the sweetest memory. But I'm just very cautious about not wanting to get anything on that photo because I think that is such a nice photo and something that I definitely wanted to include in the spread. I did play around with the ephemera bits a bit more. I did switch out the journaling bit that I'm going to have on the left side of the spread, just because I did like that pop of teal on the little tag a bit more than what I had before. And then I added a little phrase sticker on the right side of the page that says the little moments, as well as a ticket stub type label that says it's the little things, and then I just stamped my date to add on the top of my right spread. And my roller date stamp from Heidi Swap is just a tad bit too wide for that blank space in the ticket stub, so I did stamp at a bit of an angle diagonally across that space, and I think that just works fine on this spread. Now that everything's adhered down into place, I just did some journaling on some clear sticker paper through my printer, and I'm sticking that onto my journaling tag, and then just adding some more of that burlap twine through the top. I liked the way that it looked down in the corner there with the happy tag, so I just wanted to repeat that again for this one. Just popping that up again with some 3D foam squares, and I debated about adding this strip of hearts that was part of the chipboard piece as well to the top left side of my spread to balance out the kind of a cooler toned pink that is in the chipboard frame on the top right side of the spread. But I couldn't really find anywhere that it would fit nicely, so I just left that out and called it a day for this spread. In the end, it did take me a bit longer to do this spread than I had originally planned, just because of that one. I'm blaming that one black frame that didn't quite fit into the spot that I had wanted to put it in. I did really like working with these chipboard frames. I like that they're adhesive backed because it makes it so much easier to just stick them on a photo and then put that on your spread. I think it would be really cool to either stick this on a photo and put it in one of the pockets in your Life Crafted album, or alternately, I think these would make really cool magnets if you covered up the adhesive part in the back and put some magnets on the back. I think I might have to buy another set of chipboard frames just to do that. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. If you liked this video, then make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more process videos in the future. Thanks so much for watching!